Good morning, sir.
Mm.
Sir, I have one basic question. I was going through your notes of yesterday uh, and also listened the video. There was a in the has relation in your dependent class. We have created a new keyword for dependency class, right, sir? So in that, in the bottom one, this was password encoder, sir, above. This is an instance variable, right? The password encoder, or
It's a
the
data
one
member. Data member
is
means
it is a
instance
data
variable.
member is instance variable,
Ah,
which an encoder is the name of that variable, right?
variable. Hmm.
Okay. Because here that's we don't need to do new encoder to bring that password encoder in real. They are two different
Now
things.
that no. Currently, we are not discussing about what is as a relationship. Okay.
Mm.
I'm not talking about dependence injection. I'm talking about only what is called as a
Okay, okay, okay.
relationship. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sure. Just a minute. This is a big problem. Okay. I would like to start the session. Just a minute. Give a minute. Right. Yeah. Actually, today we are going to talk about what is called tightly coupled objects in application and what are called loosely coupled objects in application. Okay. Yesterday you got to know about what is called dependent object and what is called dependency object. Okay. Now we are going to look at about what is called tightly coupled objects and what are called loosely coupled objects. That is what actually we are going to discuss in the session today. I'm going to talk about that actually. Just a minute. Online people, wait for a minute, okay? ఇంతసేపు కావాలి టీవీ అన్న రియల్మీ అది కొనకండి ఎవరిది సో యా విల్ స్టార్ట్ సో థింగ్ ఈజ్ నో we would like to know about yesterday I told all these things. These are all the topics which I told in the session to understand about what is called is a relationship, what is called has a relationship. Okay, then we got to know about what is called dependent class and what is called dependency class, who is called dependent class and who is called dependency class. These are all the things I told in the last class. And coming to today's session, okay, coming to today's session, so what exactly that we want to do now, we would like to start working on what is called tightly coupled objects and what is called loosely coupled objects. First, we will understand about what is called tightly coupled objects. Tightly coupled objects. So we want to understand about what is the meaning of tightly coupled objects. Okay, and definition wise, what I can say is when a dependent object two words you have to understand now: dependent, dependency. In the last class also I told that which class is called dependent class and which class is called dependency class. We have discussed that. Okay, that is very, very important because in the entire spring you should identify first of all who is the dependent class and who is the dependency class. That is understanding, that is a very, very important point. Now coming to what is the meaning of tightly coupled objects. Actually, suppose there is a dependent object. That a dependent object has a dependency object. Then we say that both are called coupled objects. Now we need to identify how they are called tightly coupled objects. Point is, when a dependent object, I repeat my statement, when a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, when a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, right? If code changes are required in the dependent object, when dependent object wants to move from one dependency object to another dependency object, but if it requires some changes in the code, then we say that both objects are called tightly coupled objects. So now, definition wise, understanding the tightly coupled objects is like this. For this, we can understand with an example. Okay, for this we can understand with an example. We are going to discuss with an example. First of all, you know about who is called a dependent object and who is called dependency object, because in the last class only we discussed about who is called a dependent object and who is called dependency object. Suppose if you are writing two classes, suppose you are writing two classes like a class A and also you are writing class B. There are two classes you are writing. Suppose if you are creating, okay, if you are creating an object of class B inside class A, inside the class A itself, then you tell me, we say that what class A has a relationship with class B, and this is called, who is called a dependent class in this case? Class A. And who is called a dependency class? Class B. Means a dependent object is class A object, dependency object is class B object. There is a dependent object and there is a dependency object. Okay, so in the last class we got these terms: who is called a dependent object and who is called dependency object. Today we want to understand what is tightly coupled objects and what is loosely coupled objects. Now Coming to the example. What's the statement I'm telling now? First of all, I would like to write my definition. Then we will justify the definition with the help of the example. Okay, we want to understand about what is tightly coupled objects. What I'm saying now, if a dependent object, wants to, what dependent object wants to do? Yes, if a dependent object wants to change, if a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, okay, when a dependent, otherwise when a dependent object, I can say. Right. I repeat, when a dependent object wants to, better word is when. So when a dependent object wants to change its dependency object. So when a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, if code changes are required, in the dependent object, then we say that both the dependent, or we can say the dependent object is tightly coupled with the dependency object. The dependent object is tightly coupled with the which object? Dependency object. So we will understand what is it really. Okay, right. We want to understand about what is really. When a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, the code changes are required in the dependent object, then we say that the dependent object is tightly coupled with the dependency object. This is a definition wise. But now we need to understand how it is going to work. Okay, right? Let's say there are two classes with me. Let's say there are two classes with me. Okay, first let me explain in general. Let's say, for example, there are two classes with me. Class, yesterday's example, travel. Travel is a class. Okay, there is a class called what? Travel. Yesterday's example I'm talking about. Travel is one class I have. Okay, now here there is a class called car. Okay, right? In car, there is a method like move. Something like that. In travel, there is a method called journey. First, I'm taking general example. Next, I'll see programmatic example. These are the methods available. This is a class. There are two classes with me now. Who are the two classes here? Travel and car. In travel class, I'm creating the object of car class. So how can I create an object of car class in the travel class now? I'm going to create like this now. Car is equal to new car. Now tell me, according to this, who is called dependent class and who is called dependency class? Travel is the dependent class and car is the dependency class. Okay. So as we discussed in the last class, travel is a class which has a relationship with another class called what? Car. So this travel class is called as which class? Dependent class, and the car class is its dependency class. So who is the dependency class of travel? Who is the dependency class of travel? Who is the dependency class for travel? Car. Then travel is going to be called as which class? Dependent class. The first class is the dependent class. The second class is the dependency class. That's a general way to understand the two terms called dependent class and dependency class. Now here, suppose, assume that this travel is a dependent object now. It has a dependency object called what? Car. Suppose now this travel object, the dependent object, wants to change the dependency object. Who is a dependence object right now? Car. But now this dependent object wants to change the dependency object from car to bike. From car to bike. Suppose there is one more class also there in the project. The class name is bike. There is a class called bike. Okay, there is something in the bike. There is a method called ride. So tell me now what the travel object wants to do now? It wants to change what it's a dependency object. Okay, what is a dependency object? Already this travel object is using currently. Currently it is using car. Currently it is using car. Am I right? Currently it is using car. But now it wants to change the dependency object to what? Bike. Then tell me to change its dependency object. Then tell me in the dependent class, do we need to make changes or not? Yes. What changes I need to do? You have to remove this car object and create a bike object. Then only the dependency will be changed. Otherwise, the dependency object of the travel object is changed or not changed. Now tell me, if the dependent object wants to change its dependency object, then tell me the code changes are also required in that class or not? Yes. In the dependent class, some code changes are required here. Yes. What is a code change? Remove the existing object, car object, and create a new object. What's the new object here? Bike. Let's say bike is equal to new bike, new space bike. Okay. So tell me previously travel object has a relationship with the car object. Now the travel object has a relationship with the bike object. But to change the dependency object, some changes are required in the code also, na? That's why we say that now the travel object and this car object are what type of coupled objects? Tightly coupled. Now what and what objects are tightly coupled now? Travel object and bike object. Let's say for example, the travel object which is a dependent object and it wants to change the dependency object from bike to train. Suppose there is one more class in the project. The class name is what? Train. You guys understand now? There is one more class called what? Train. Now you tell me travel object. Currently, travel object is a dependent object. It has a dependency object called what? Bike. Now this dependent object wants to change what? Dependency object. For the current dependency object, bike. But it wants to move to another new dependency object called what? Train. Then tell me some code changes are required or not? What's the code change now? Remove the existing dependency object called bike object and create a new object called train object. Am I clear with that now? So I have to remove okay, I have to remove this particular bike object. Then I should create an object of train. Train is equal to new train, space train. This is how I am going to create. Now you tell me, whenever if a class is creating it's a dependency object directly inside the class, then what type of coupling will be created between them? Tight coupling. See, this is called a dependent class. Okay, who is its dependency class? Train. Suppose if a dependent class is creating it's a dependency class object inside the class, then you tell me what type of coupling will be there always between them? Tight coupling, tightly coupled objects. There is a tight coupling between them. Are you able to follow me now? That is called what type of coupling we got now? Tight coupling. So it means when tightly coupled objects we can see, when we will get the tight coupling between the objects? When when a dependent class or dependent object is creating its dependency object inside the class itself, inside the class or inside the class internally, then you tell me what type of coupling is created between them? Tight coupling. So when does tight coupling will occur? When does tight coupling will occur between the objects now? When a dependent class is creating its a dependency class object inside the class. Inside the class. Then tell me what type of coupling will be created between the objects? Tight coupling is created between the objects. Let's take other example also to understand it. Let us say, next I'll tell you what is called loosely coupled objects and how to achieve the loose coupling. Okay, observe it. Because two terms that you need to understand here. Okay, two terms that you need to understand here. Please try to. Sorry.
By default, all the has a relationships are by default.
But not by default all has a relationships. I'm going to tell you how to make loose coupling. Has a relationship can also provide loose coupling. That's what our concept actually. Okay. So observe the concept here, guys. Everybody in online, please try to understand. If you have any query, please let me know in chat box. Otherwise, you can directly speak to me. So now I want to talk about another example of understanding tight coupling. Okay, let's say, for example, there is a class called report service. So I'm creating a class called as what service now? Report service. Report service. Okay, correct? Now I'll create objects later. Now this is one class called report service. And I also have one more class in my application called class PDF generator or PDF report generator. Simple class I'm taking PDF generator. Inside the class methods are there. I'm not talking about methods. It is not empty class. It contains constructor, methods, fields, everything. Just I'm calling like that. There is a class called PDF generator. Okay. Now report service is a class. Now actually to generate the report, report service class wants to invoke the operations of the PDF generator. Report service class for generating its report, it wants to invoke the operations of what? PDF generator. Nothing but what? Report service object wants to take the support of another object called what? PDF generator. Obviously, generally, when one object is going to communicate with another object, why should an object should communicate with another? Object 1 is there, object 2 is there. Right? Object 1 is there, object 2 is there. When object 1 communicates with object 2, if object 1 wants to access the services of object 2, then only object 1 will communicate with object 2. Nothing but object 1 will provide a relationship with object 2. There are two classes are there with me. There are two classes are there. Let's say one class is employee. Let's say one class is called employee. Employee is one class. Try to understand now. And there is another class is there with me. Okay, one class is employee. Let's say another class is there. Let's say, for example, the class is customer. Now, in this case now, employee object, customer object, two objects are there. Correct? But employee object is not going to communicate with customer object, or customer object is not going to communicate with employee object. So then tell me, between employee and customer, a relationship is required or not required? Not required. Employee is one independent object. Customer is also another independent object. There is no relationship required between what and what? Employee object and the customer object. So there is no kind of dependency object and dependent object relationship. We cannot say that employee is a dependent object, customer is a dependency object, or we cannot say that customer is a dependent object and employee is a dependency object. We can't say like that. Both are independent objects. Employee one independent object, customer another independent object. Are you able to follow me now? Right? Very good. So try to understand now. So tell me, generally, when relationship is required between object one and object two? When object one wants to invoke the services of object two, means object one wants some services from object two. Then only we are going to provide communication between object one to object two. For that, we are going to provide a relationship. In order to provide the communication between them, we need to provide what? Relationship. Very good. So tell me, report service is a report service is a one class. Okay, I'll delete all these things. Tell me, report service is one class. Now tell me, report service class. Okay, report service class wants to get the services from which class? PDF generator. Okay, then tell me, inside the report service class, if report service class wants to invoke the methods of PDF generator, then we are going to create the object of PDF generator class inside report service class. So PDF generator, PDF is equal to new PDF generator. Now my report service class wants to generate some report in the PDF format. That's why it is taking the support of which object? PDF generator. Now you tell me report service object is called which object here? Dependent object. PDF generator is called which object here? Dependency object. So we have a dependent object and we have a dependency object. Now once again tell me who is the dependent object? Report service. Who is the dependency object? PDF generator. PDF generator is the dependency object. Okay. Now we are creating the dependency object inside the class. If you directly create the object of dependency class inside the dependent class, then tell me what type of coupling we can provide between them. They are called tightly coupled objects. Now these two objects are what type of objects currently? They are tightly coupled objects. They are tightly coupled objects. Okay, let's do one thing. Later, now this report service, the dependent object wants to change to another dependency object. Instead of PDF generator, suppose in my project, there is another class called Excel generator. There is a class called Excel generator. There is a class called Excel generator. Am I clear with you? Okay. There is a class called Excel generator. There are some methods inside. Now tell me, this report service class now wants to change its dependency object. What is the previous dependency object? PDF generator. But now it wants to change to which dependency object? Excel generator. Then you tell me some code changes are required in the report service class or not? Yes. What code changes required? You have to remove delete the existing dependency object. Am I right or not? Delete the existing dependency object and create the new dependency object. Who is the new dependency object? Excel generator. Excel is equal to new Excel generator. Then you tell me, now you tell me this is called what coupling between objects? Now we say that objects are tightly coupled. Previously, what and what objects are tightly coupled? Report service object is tightly coupled with the PDF generator object. Now currently report service object is again tightly coupled with the Excel generator object. Did you guys understood about what is called tight coupling now? These are called what type of objects? Tightly Then tell me when tightly coupled objects are created.
When the dependent
If a dependent class is creating, if a dependent class is creating, it's a dependency class object inside the class itself. Then tell me what type of coupling is created between them. Tightly coupled. So suppose tomorrow in future, if the dependent object wants to change the dependency object, previously dependency object is there, but now it wants to change. If it wants to change the dependency object, then tell me some code changes are required or not. Yes, that's why these are called what type of objects? Tightly coupled objects, right? Tightly coupled objects. Then you can understand what is loosely coupled objects. What is loosely coupled objects now? Suppose if a dependent object wants to change the dependency object, but without code changes only, dependency object can be changed by without making any code changes. Currently, what we are doing? We are doing some code changes. What are the code changes we are doing? We are removing the existing dependency object and we are creating the new dependency object. So some code changes we are doing. This is called what type of coupling between the objects? Tight coupling between the objects. But we can also create loosely coupled objects in the application. We can also create what type of objects? Loosely coupled objects. I will tell you what are the rules to follow to create loosely coupled objects in the project. So first you need to understand about tightly coupled objects. So first of all, what is my definition? Okay, what is my definition? When a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, if a code changes are required in the dependent object, then we say that the dependent object is tightly coupled with the dependency object. Let us start writing example. For example, or I can say, see when the tight coupling will occur between the objects now, when dependent class or dependent object, anything, when a dependent class is creating its dependency object inside the class itself, then what type of coupling will be created? Tightly coupled objects are created. Am I clear with that point now? What type of objects are created? Tightly coupled objects are created, right? Okay. So when a dependent class is creating, it's a which object? Dependency class object inside the class itself. Okay. Then tell me what type of coupling is created. Then the objects are tightly coupled. Just to understand today what is tight coupling and what is loose coupling. Okay, right? Good. Example, we also need to write. Example. Okay, I will do one thing. I will draw the diagram and I'll insert the picture here. Coming to the point here. Example. Tell me, first we are creating one class. Who is our class? First we are creating travel. Travel, or could be any other name of your choice. Tell me, first we want to create one class. Public class also, both are independent classes. Public class travel. Okay, travel is one class we are creating. Okay, inside the class, we are creating what? Car object, na? Car is equal to what we are writing? New car. And of course, this travel class has a method called journey. No need of creating methods, but okay. Otherwise, you leave the methods. Don't worry about some methods are there. Constructors, methods, all those things are there. Okay. Now this is called one class. Which class it is? Travel. And at the right side, I am also creating. Now I am creating one more class called what? Car. And car is a class. Car also contains some methods. We don't worry on the methods of it. Now there is two classes called travel and car. Tell me, travel class is called which class? Travel class is called which class, and the car class is called which class now? Travel class is the so travel is a dependent class. So I'm writing, okay, I'm writing this travel is the which class this is?
Dependent.
Yes, travel is the dependent class. Travel is the dependent class and car is the dependency class. Car is the dependency class. So first, car is the dependency class. Are you able to follow me now? Right. Now you tell me, we are creating what here? In the dependent class, we are creating the dependency class object directly inside the class itself. So then you tell me what type of coupling is there between them? Tightly coupled objects. First, this is point one. I will write the statement here. Now, okay, now tell me, the dependent object wants to change to what object? Dependency object, right? Now, the dependent object, in brackets I'm writing travel object, okay na? Travel object is called what object? Dependent. So that now the dependent object wants to change its dependency object. Change dependency object. Which object it wants to change? Car object. Wants to change its dependency object from better. For example, from car object to what object? Bike object. Because I need to write the statements clearly to understand by you. Okay, done. Okay. Now tell me, the dependent object travel wants to change its dependency object from car object to bike. There is a class called bike also in the project now, for example. Are you able to follow me now? Right. So otherwise, I will include that bike here as well, so that both the classes are there in the project. Bike is a class. There are some methods in the bike. Then this is the close end of the class. Okay, so that you guys can easily understand it. Am I clear with the point now? All right. Now wants to change from what object to what object? Car object to bike object. Okay. If it wants to change to bike object, then tell me what are required now? Code. In the travel class or in the travel object, first we need to remove the car object. Then we need to create the bike object. So in the travel object, we need to remove the car object and then we need to create a bike object. It means some code changes are required. Where some code changes are required in the dependent object. Dependent object or class, anything required in the dependent object. Okay, let us do the changes. What I will do, I will copy this class. These two classes once again I will copy. I'll put here. and I will start writing the changes. Changes means, okay, first I want to strike off it. Which one I want to strike off it now? Car object I want to strike off it. I want to strike off the car object. Now car object is removed. Tell me, in place of the car object, which object I am going to write now? Bike object. So how do I create the bike object? Obviously now, bike. Bike equals to new space bike. For understanding easily, I'm taking these classes, okay? Now tell me, who is going to be the dependency class for travel? Not the car. Not the car now. I want to remove this. I want to remove this. Tell me, who is going to be the dependent class now? Bike. Now this bike is going to be the dependency class. Now did you guys understood who is going to be the dependent? Who is going to be the dependency class now? Bike. So now it is changed from where to where? Car to bike. But some code changes are required here. That's why this is called what type of objects? Tightly coupled objects. This entire picture will be kept into the document. Okay. Please go through the documents. They are very important. Okay, everybody need to go through the documents clearly. This entire session you need to understand, and you need to attend classes also very, very regularly. Then I will provide you the ample of knowledge which can help you a lot. So first I need to keep this into our document. So you got the information here. Now so far we have discussed about what type of objects? Tightly coupled objects. But in my application, I want what type of objects? Loosely coupled objects. What type of objects now? Loosely. Currently, you understood about what type of objects? Tightly coupled objects. But now we want to understand about what type of objects? Loosely coupled objects. Okay. Now, loosely coupled objects means simply what you can understand now. A dependent object can change its dependency object without making any code changes. Then we can say that both objects are called tightly coupled objects or loosely coupled objects. Loosely coupled objects. Okay. Now come to the point. We all know about interfaces in Java. Interface. But at the time of discussing interface at core Java level, what we know is interface is to define a contract for a classes so that the classes must provide implementation for a specific methods. That's what in interface, if you are creating two abstract methods, then the classes which are implementing the interface, the classes must provide the implementation for two methods. Otherwise, that class should become abstract class. So you know interfaces concept already, right? Now, to provide loose coupling between objects, interfaces are required. So there are multiple advantages or uses with interfaces. One advantage is what? You can define a contract. You can define a contract for classes to provide implementation for specific methods. Use number one. Use number two, you can achieve multiple inheritance. You can achieve multiple inheritance with the interfaces. Use number three, you can achieve loose coupling. What you can achieve? Loose coupling. You can achieve loose coupling between the objects with the interfaces. Use number four, you can achieve polymorphism. You can achieve what? Polymorphism. Overriding. Interface method you are overriding in a class, right? Overloading and overriding. Overriding is called a dynamic polymorphism. So you can achieve the dynamic polymorphism with the help of interfaces. So with interfaces, 4 or 5 users are there. Okay, 4 or 5 users are there with the interfaces. Very good. Come to the point here. Tell me, to provide loose coupling between objects, what are important, what are mandatory? Interfaces are mandatory. Now, I'm going to talk about how we can provide loose coupling. First of all, what is loose coupling? What is loose coupling? When a dependent object wants to change its dependency object. When a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, okay, if no code changes are required, if code changes are required in the dependent object, then it is called tightly. If no code changes are required in the dependent object, it is called loose coupling. That's it. Am I clear with the point? Online people, so far did you understood whatever so far I have explained? Can you give me a small reply in the chat box like Y or N? One letter only, okay? Just Y or N is enough. Okay, just I want to get a confirmation from you people. Some responses are received so far. Yeah. Just I want to know whether are you in sync with the class or not. Synchronization. Good, good. All right, yeah. Good, good, nice, nice. Okay. Keep listening, guys. Keep listening. Thank you. See here, guys. Yeah. So come to loosely coupled objects. We want to understand about what next? Loosely coupled objects. Loosely coupled objects. Loosely coupled objects. So now we want to understand about a concept called loosely coupled objects. So how we can able to provide loose coupling between objects is our question. How can we provide what type of coupling? Loose coupling between objects. I told just now, what are mandatory for providing loose coupling between objects? Interface. Okay, interface. Now assume that same example we will consider first. What are the classes that I have with me is, what are the classes I have with me is, one is a travel and the second one is car. Assume that car and bike are the implementation classes of an interface called vehicle. Okay, an interface called vehicle. Vehicle is an interface in the project. The two implementation classes are what and what? Car and bike. Car and bike. Car and bike are the implementation classes of what? Vehicle. Because to provide loose coupling between objects, whenever you want to provide a loose coupling between objects, what is mandatory? Interface is mandatory. Interface is mandatory. Now, observe here. Everybody try to understand now. We will complete it immediately now. Class, there is a class called travel. I'll come back to travel and I will write. First I'm writing who are available things. Now there is an interface in the project called vehicle. So interface contains abstract methods, you know. Class car implements vehicle. Extends vehicle, implements vehicle. Implements vehicle because class implements an interface, right? Overriding. Class, another class is also there. Who is the class now? Bike. Bike class also implements what? Vehicle. So tell me, car and bike are implementation classes of what? Vehicle. Car and bike are the implementation classes of what? Vehicle. Now there is a class called travel, and that travel class is containing, travel class is a dependent. It wants to it wants to use, or it wants to invoke or call. Invoke means calling. It wants to call the services of the car. Then tell me, travel is my dependent class. I have a question to you. Can we create interface object? Can we create interface object is my question. Means vehicle, V is equal to, or vehicle is equal to new vehicle? No, because vehicle is what? Interface. For interface, we cannot create objects. For an interface, we can't create an object. Interface does not have a constructor. In interface, there is no constructor. Am I right or not? Constructor will be there only for classes, but not for interfaces. You can't create object for interface, right? Interface. And interface is nothing but it's purely abstract. Okay. We can't create object. So I have a question to you. Can we create a reference variable for interface? Yes. Reference variable we can create, but we can't create. Which means, what can I write now? Vehicle VH is enough. Semicolon. Can I write like this now? Yes. Vehicle VH is equal to new car. Can I write like this? Now tell me, travel object is what object? Dependent object. Who is its dependency object now? Car object. Tell me now, travel object is a dependent object and it has a dependency object called what? Car object. Suppose in future, now the travel object wants to change its dependency object from car to bike. It wants to change it to bike object. Its dependency object to bike. Then tell me, code changes are required in the travel object or not? Code changes are required in the travel object or not? Currently tell me, who is the dependency object? Car. For a dependent object called travel, who is a dependency object? Car. In future, in further, suppose now, for example, this dependent object wants to change the dependency object. Currently, who is a dependency object? Car. But now it wants to change to bike. Then you tell me some changes are required in the travel object or not? Some changes are required in the travel object or not? Think and tell me. Anybody, you can also respond, online people. Did you guys understood my point here first of all? Currently, once again, I'm asking, tell me, who is a dependent object? Travel. Who is its dependency object? Car. My question is what? Suppose now the travel object, which is the dependent object, wants to change its dependency object to bike. Not from car object to bike object. Then tell me, code changes are required or not required in the travel?
Yes, sir, it is required. Vehicle
Yes, code
new.
changes are required. Yeah, you're right. Code changes are required. But only the thing is what, previous example, complete line we have changed. Now only half of the line we need to change. Left side same. Left side, vehicle VH same. Because vehicle is what? Interface. Interface reference variable it is. Interface reference variable can store its implementation class object. Car is also implementation class. Bike is also, means what this VH can store bike object also. Not only car object. So that's why I no need to change left side of my statement, but I have to change right side of my statement, which means some code changes are required or not. Whether you are changing left side or right side or semicolon, it is a code change only. Yes. Tell me, in place of this, Tell me in place of this, new car. Could you guys tell me? I have to replace it with what? New bike. Exactly. Okay, let us use pink color. Again, code changes are required. Then you tell me it is also again comes under what type of coupling between objects? Huh? Tight coupling between objects. It is again called as what type of coupling between objects? Tight coupling between objects. Tight coupling between objects. Are you able to get my point? Very good. So whenever you want to provide loose coupling between objects, the fundamental point is what? That the class, the dependent class should not create. It's a dependency class object inside the class. Tell me what is happening here. It is creating the dependency class object inside the class. If it is creating the dependency class object inside the class, then definitely it is going to become what type of coupling? Tight coupling. Now you tell me, currently this is called what type of coupling? Tight coupling. Again, it is tight coupling only. It is not called loose coupled. It is tightly coupled. It's again tight coupling. See, what is the fundamental rule? When you want to provide loose coupling between objects, what should I do? A dependent object should not create. It's a dependency class object inside the class itself. If it is creating like that, then what type of coupling is made? Tight coupling is made. Tight coupling is created between the objects. Tight coupling is created between the objects. Still, it is called what coupling only? Tight coupling only. Okay. Please understand, everyone. Try to understand the point now. So I am deleting all this code. I am keeping VH semicolon. I'm not creating object equal to new semicolon. Now what I am doing, I am defining setter method. Which method I am creating? Setter method I am creating. Of course, I can write the setter method, but I am writing only comment setter method. I am creating a setter method for this variable. Let's say my variable name VH or vehicle. Better word is vehicle. Vehicle. You know what is the setter method now? If a vehicle is the name of the variable, how do you define setter method of it? Public void, okay. Setter method starts with a set. Variable name is vehicle. What is the method? Set vehicle. What is the getter method? Get vehicle. Set vehicle, get vehicle. If a vehicle is a variable name, how can you define the setter method? Set vehicle. Or define getter method? Get vehicle. Set vehicle, get vehicle. Very good. I'm defining setter method. I have a question to you now. If a setter method is created, then tell me, by calling the setter method, can we set the vehicle object from outside the class? When a setter method is created in a class, can we set the value to the object from outside the class or not?
Yes.
Yes. Because setter methods are public methods. Public methods we can call from anywhere. Are you able to get my point now? Yes. So can we call the setter method from outside the class and can we set the vehicle object now? Yes. Now tell me, travel object want car object as a dependency object. What I will set? Car object. From where? Outside the class. No, travel object want to change the dependency object. From where to where? Car to bike. Now tell me, this time again I'll call the setter method. I'll set what object? Bike object. Then you tell me, do I need to make any code changes? Now, for example, travel object wants to use car object as a dependency object. Right? What object I'm setting? Car object I'm setting. Now tell me who is a dependent object? Travel object. Who is a dependency object? Car object. Okay, in future, further, now the travel object, same travel object, now wants to change its dependency object to what? Bike. Then tell me this time, I'm going to again call the setter method. Now I'm going to set which object? Bike object. Now tell me dependency object is changed or not? From where to where? Car to bike. Tell me to do this, any code changes required here? No. Without making any code changes, what is changed? Dependency object is changed. From where to where? Car to bike. Now you tell me travel object is tightly coupled with the car object or loosely coupled with the car object? Loosely coupled. Whenever it want to change the car, it can change to bike or not? Yes. Again, if it wants, it can change from bike to car again. How it is possible? Just by calling the setter method. By making any code changes or without making any code changes? By without making any code changes, it is possible. This is called what type of coupling? Loose coupling. Okay. Sir, in place of vehicle, no, sir. I call setter method, but I will take car. Why doesn't it work? Is a doubt. Car. Setter method is set car. I'm not creating the object inside the class, right? I'm defining which method? Setter method. Tell me by calling setter method, I can set the object from outside the class or not? Yes. Now you tell me what object I can set to the travel object by calling the setter method? Car object I can set. But can I set the bike object? No. Now again tell me what type of coupling is created? Tight coupling. Suppose I want to set the bike object, then what to do? I have to make the code changes or not? Go to the travel class, remove the car variable, remove the setter method for car variable. Next, create in place of that what? Bike variable, and define the setter method for bike variable. So some code changes are required or not? Yes. So my question to you, to achieve loose coupling, you need class reference variable or interface reference variable. If you have interface reference variable, then only you can achieve loose coupling. But if you create a class reference variable, always you will get what type of coupling only? Tight coupling only. Are you able to follow me? What's the point I'm saying now? Right. So tell me, one of the advantages of interface is we can able to achieve loose coupling between objects with the help of interfaces. Am I clear with the point now? Right. Now this is called loose coupling. Did you guys understood how loose coupling? Point number one. Okay, point number one. Try to understand. Point number one. If at all you want to provide loose coupling between objects, loose coupling between a dependent object and dependency object. If you want to provide loose coupling between the dependent and dependency objects, the dependency objects must be created through interface. Dependency objects are created through, who are the dependency objects here? Car, bike, other. They must be created through interface, na? The dependency classes must be created through interface or by implementing interface. By implementing interface. Second rule number two. In the dependent class, only create interface reference variable. Only create what variable? Interface reference variable. Don't create object, only interface reference variable, and define a setter method. Of course, you can also define constructor. Either setter method or instead of setter method, you can define constructor also. You know, parameterized constructor. Tell me, while creating travel object, to the constructor I can pass what object? Car object. Then it is going to be, there is a coupling between what and what? Travel and car. Suppose while creating travel object, if I pass bike object, there is a coupling between travel and bike object. Are you able to follow me now? Right. Suppose if travel object wants to change to bike to car, then what I will do now? I'll create another travel object by passing bike object as a parameter to the constructor. Now travel object is coupled with bike object. Are you able to follow me now? So means by defining either constructor or by defining one setter method, anyone, either constructor or setter method. Define either constructor or setter method. Constructor or setter method. Did you guys understood what I am trying to explain you now? Now this is called what type of coupling between objects? Tell me what are the 3 rules to follow to provide loose coupling between objects? Dependency classes must implement from a interface. Second rule, in the dependent class, create interface reference variable. Rule number 3, define either a constructor or a setter method in the dependent class for providing the dependency object, for injecting the dependency object. This is called injecting. I'm not using the word injecting. Okay, now I want to use a word called injecting. Right? Nothing is there in Spring. But to understand this only, people are, confused and, okay, having a great kind of feeling in the mind. What is constructor injection? What is setter injection? Okay, because the trainers are also making it complicated actually. It is really simple concept only. Okay, it's too simple concept actually. Suppose if I'm defining constructor, it is called constructor injection. If I'm defining setter method, it is called, that's it. This is called dependency injection. This is called dependency. We know word injection. How to inject the dependency? Define the constructor. If a constructor is defined for injecting the dependency, it is called constructor injection. So setter method is defined for injecting, it is called setter injection. You got 2 words now: dependency injection, constructor injection, setter injection. What is there in that? Are you able to follow me now? That's what the clarity that you guys must know about it. Okay. For today, some statements I will write here. Later I'll talk about, don't worry. Dependency injection and all those things. Okay, right? So tell me, sir, where I will write this code for calling the setter method and all? Okay. You have a travel class, you have, for example, you have a main class or solution class, something you are creating. Am I right or not? See, for example, I'm writing, okay, I'll show that code also. Otherwise, you may get doubt, where should I write and call the method? So this is public class main. In main class, it's a small project I'm creating to test my application. Public static void main of string args. Okay. Are you able to get my point? So here I'm creating what object? Travel. T is equal to new travel. Travel is a travel class object, right? Tell me, T dot set. Setter method is set vehicle, na? Set vehicle of new car. You have to understand like this. Are you able to follow my point? Okay. Now you tell me, T is what? Travel object. Travel object is a dependent object. New car means it is a car object. Car object is a, suppose tomorrow if this travel object wants to change to bike object, what I have to do? I will go to my code somewhere. Again, I'll write what? T dot set vehicle of new bike. Did you guys understood what I'm saying now? Now you tell me the dependency object is changing now from where to where? Car to bike without making any code changes. This is called what type of coupling between the objects? Loose coupling between objects. There you got what is tight coupling and what is loose coupling within a short span of time. Okay. Now I would like to add the statements 1 or 2. I need to change something. When a dependent object wants to change its dependency object, if no code changes are required in the dependent object, then we say that dependent object is loosely coupled with the dependency object. Now, did you guys understood about how it is called as tight coupled objects and how it is called loose coupled objects? Tell me if code changes are required or if no code changes are required. I'll highlight that statement. If no code changes are required in the dependent object, then we say that the dependent object is tightly coupled with the dependency object. Now you tell me what are the rules to be followed to achieve loose coupling? Definitely we should follow some rules, otherwise you can't achieve loose coupling. We will get tight coupling only, right? What are the rules to follow? The dependency classes, okay, must implement a interface. Must implement an interface. Second, in the dependent class, we have to create the interface reference variable. Third, in the dependent class, we have to define either a constructor or a setter method. So by following these three rules, we can provide what type of coupling between the objects? Loose coupling between the objects. For today, I will write the rules, examples and all. In the next session, I will add to the document. Okay. So the rules to follow to achieve or provide loose coupling between the objects are rule number one. Tell me what the rule number one. The dependency classes, the dependency classes must implement an interface. Must implement an interface. Am I clear with this, guys? Second one. Okay. In the dependent class, tell me, create interface reference variable. In the dependent class, create interface reference variable as a data member, anything. As a data member. As a data member means as a variable. As a data member. Number 3. Third, define in the dependent class. Tell me in the dependent class what? Define a constructor or a setter method for what? Injecting the which object? Dependency object. It's called dependency injection. Okay, I'll talk about DI in shortcut dependency injection. I'll talk about on Monday. But currently now, in the dependent class, define a constructor or a setter method to inject the or for injecting the dependency object. If you follow these rules, then you tell me what type of coupling you can achieve between the objects. Loose coupling we can able to achieve between the objects by following these rules. Example code and all I will add in the next session. Here we like to stop our class for today. Okay, and from Monday we are going to understand about what is dependency injection. First I am going to talk about what is my mic is muted. No. Yeah. Okay. So now we are going to understand from Monday about what is inversion of control, IOC. Spring IOC container, people we call like IOC container. IOC means not Indian Oil Corporation. It is called what? Inversion of control. Inversion of control. We are going to understand what is IOC, what is dependency lookup, what is dependency injection, then how to implement constructor injection in Spring Framework, how to define setter injection in Spring Framework, who is called Spring Container. And before we start writing the programming on Spring Framework, I told already, just on Monday, I will give you about these points. What is a dependency injection? What is dependency lookup? What is inversion of control? Who is called Spring Container and what are its responsibilities? Those things I am going to explain on Monday. After that, I'll break the Spring and I'll start Maven. What is the tool? Because if I want to give an example, without Maven, we cannot develop the Spring Up. Spring applications we can create without Maven, but lot of class path setting required. With Maven, it is very easy. And without Maven or Gradle, we can't develop Spring Boot applications. That's for sure. Maven or Gradle, we can't develop Spring Boot or microservice applications. Spring applications, Spring Core applications, we can create without Maven also. but you need to add 7 or 8 jar files in the class path. If you miss one jar file or one jar file version, it's gone. Your application doesn't run. If it is a Maven, it is very easy. That's why we'll start from right from beginning the first example only. We are going to start working with the Maven. So for that, first of all, you should know what is Maven and why it is used. Next, some concepts about Maven. Okay, there is some XML file, some dependencies, some project coordinates, group IDs, artifact IDs. Like that, you are going to get something about Maven. So I'm going to deliver that Maven related basics, 2 to 3 classes maximum. Then we are going to work with the Spring again by creating applications with Maven. So every Spring application we are going to develop with Maven. Once you got 2-3 applications familiarity with the Maven, next I'm going to give you 1 or 2 example with Gradle. What is that now? Gradle. Maven, Gradle, both are similar only. Both are called build tools only. Oh, correct. If you know the Maven, understanding Gradle is very easy. For Gradle, I need to explain like Maven. Just in one class, I can complete Gradle with application. After that, you can choose. That is your wish. Either you want to develop applications with Maven or Gradle. I will create applications with Maven. I will teach both, but I will continue examples with Maven. Okay, Maven is comfortable for me. Everybody get my point? Right. We'll continue on Monday. Thank you.
Sir,
Online folks, thank you. We'll continue on Monday.
thank you, sir. Sir, one quick question. Kotlin is also uses underneath Spring or just
Now we can develop applications using another language called Kotlin.
okay.
To develop the applications of the Spring Boot, not Spring, Spring Boot.
Spring Boot, yeah.
Spring Boot applications we can develop through programming language Java or programming language called Kotlin or another scripting called Groovy.